is the gospel? It's the most important question you could ever ask, with the most significant answer you could ever receive. The gospel is an announcement. It's not good advice, it's good news. Good news about freedom and forgiveness for bad and broken people. The gospel is not something you do for God, but something He did for you. The gospel is simple yet profound. So basic that even a child can comprehend it, yet so deep that no scholar, author, or philosopher could ever uncover the full scope of its depth and riches. The gospel is beautiful. It is light in your darkness, strength in your weakness, hope in your hurting, grace for your guilt, mercy for your misery, healing for your soul, joy for all people. The gospel is shocking. Innocence in the place of righteousness, holiness in the place of shame, Son of God in the place of sinful man, God without honor, Lord without breath. The gospel is about Jesus Christ, born in a manger and raised by a carpenter, tempted by Satan but filled with the Spirit, baptized by his cousin and affirmed by his father, questioned by leaders but loved by outsiders, befriended by sinners, betrayed by his friend, respected by some, rejected by most, crucified for all, buried in a borrowed grave, resurrected on the third day. The gospel is a gift. Costly for God, but free to you. Salvation is not a reward for the righteous, but a gift for the guilty. It cannot be earned, and it cannot be lost. The gospel is about grace. No one is so good that they don't need it, and no one is so bad they can't have it. The gospel is not just a clean slate. It's a final verdict. Not guilty. The gospel is about strength that no enemy can defeat, peace that no suffering can steal, hope that no storm can wash away. My hope is built on nothing less and nothing more than Jesus' blood and righteousness. The gospel is about God. He is infinite and unparalleled. He is strong and gentle. He's the King of heaven, Lord of armies, the healer of hearts, and the light of the world. The gospel is about you. Your move. Not clean up your act, but come as you are. Because Christianity isn't acting like you have it all together, but admitting that you don't. That is the gospel.
I wanted to share with you that little video kind of presentation of the gospel, a word, an Old English word that really means good news, and that video explains some of the reasons why it is good news. But it's appropriate to do that, especially after we have our opening prayers and we talk about our sin and brokenness, which is a part of what we do because it's being honest, and that's reality. But central to this good news message is the forgiveness and peace of God. So we're going to flesh that out a little bit to kind of demonstrate something about that. Now, I invite the two of my helpers to come up here, Cy and Ben. Why don't you come on up? Okay, so you guys stand over there by the, yeah, okay. So the reason I want to do this today especially is because Ben and Cy are two of our youth who are going through their faith statements today. But this is an activity that we did. So we got together several nights, and one of the things we talked about was the gospel, the good news, what makes Christianity unique. And we talked about a whole bunch of things like that. But one of the things we talked about was this very thing, the idea of how we are given peace or forgiven with God. So these little red napkins that I have, these represent sin, okay? These are sins, the things that we've done, all right? And so here's Ben and Cy, and so they know how this works. And I just want to ask you guys some questions, okay? So, have you ever, and by the way, when I ask them these questions, you think about how you would respond to, I'm not going to ask you to tell me what the response is, but just in your head, you don't have to put up your hand, okay, but you guys put up your hand, okay? Have you guys ever maybe said something you shouldn't have said? Oh, yeah, honestly, okay, thank you. All right, so this is that sin in their lives, okay? There you go, okay? Have you ever maybe had a kind of a thought that you know that you shouldn't have had? Yeah, okay, good. They're really honest. They're really honest guys. Okay, there you go. As long as you don't have to tell me. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I won't get you to talk about it. Just joking. Please tell everybody. No. Have you ever had a selfish thought? Yeah, okay. There you go. Have you ever said words that said something that is selfish? Probably, yeah, okay. There you go. These are piling up, guys. Okay. All right, have you ever done something maybe that's selfish? or that goes against the commands of God. Okay, here you go. You're really honest, okay? I want to say in the midst of all this, and maybe people watching here or online who don't know me, these are really nice people, okay? Cy and Ben, they're really good. They knew this was going to happen. Okay, so here's the idea, is that through our lives, what happens is that these sins accumulate, right? We all get these sins, and if we're all being honest, we've all got these things. We've done things against God's laws, His commands, His word, all these things. We've done things that are selfish, that are unloving, and these keep accumulating. And one day, when we stand before the very throne of God on Judgment Day, we have all these sins, okay? So this is just over a few minutes, right, okay? But imagine this just getting so much, and the book of Hebrews says that nothing is hidden from God's sight. So we stand before God with all these sins. Now, how do we deal with that? Right? God is a perfect, holy, just, righteous God. So how do we deal with that? We can't make up the ground. And so what a lot of people think, and we talked about this, they think, well, the way to get, received by God, to be forgiven, have peace with God forever, is being really good. Some people think that. If you're just really, really good and you can earn it, right? But the problem is that we've lost too much ground, right? We can never make up, in good deeds, all the sin and brokenness that we have had, right? And so the gospel tells us that, wait a second, if I actually believe in who Jesus is and what He has done for me on the cross, this is a free gift that is given to me, that I receive in faith. I trust who Jesus is, what He has done for me, and I get forgiveness. So it's like this. So pretend, Si, you're standing before the throne of God, okay? And there's a verse up there, and this is Isaiah 61:1. You just stay there. And it says, I delight greatly in the Lord. My soul rejoices in my God, for He has clothed me with garments of salvation and arrayed me in a robe of His righteousness. And so this teaches us something about what God does for us, specifically in Jesus. So the idea is that as Si stands before God, right, he's got all this sin and brokenness in his life, but as if all of a sudden he's standing before the throne of God, and Jesus comes up beside Si and says, no, this one's with me. And it's like Jesus puts His robe of righteousness on and covers all that sin. Right? Isaiah 53 says Jesus covers our sin. So He doesn't see it. So what God sees as we stand in His presence isn't all the sin that Si has. It's the righteousness of Jesus. It's the goodness of Jesus. It's the faithfulness of Jesus. So Jesus gets what we deserve on the cross, and we get what He deserves because of His faithfulness, which is everlasting blessing in the presence of Jesus. Okay? All right, so take that off. Thank you. And Ben, you come forward. The same sort of thing. We come in faith, right? All of a sudden, you've got all these sins, and this is just a small sampling, right? And all of a sudden, the robe of righteousness comes around you, and that is how God sees you. He sees what Christ has done for you, not what you have done, okay? So this is the good news in Christ. It's something that's a free gift for all of us. All right, so thank you for my helpers. That's very good. You can have these as a reminder of your own sin on the way out, if you need it. Thanks, guys. Maybe you don't need that. All right, our kids' song this morning